Hi, I'm Jack Shilley and welcome to another video. In today's video I'm going to be talking to you about one of my favourite plants for autumn colour. It's a climbing plant and it's this wonderful Parthenocissus henryana, the Chinese Virginia creeper. It's a fantastic plant for growing in the garden or in the ground at home, and it's quite rampant, but you can keep it in check. Now eventually it's going to grow to about 8 metres, 12 metres tall, so quite significantly tall, and it's also going to grow to about 2.5 to 4 metres wide, so it is quite vigorous, but you can keep it in check. The plant grows these long stems. The new growth is quite often tinged this lovely burgundy colour, which is great through the season, and has these tendrils to wrap themselves around railings or down pipes or any other fixtures that it can tie itself to. If you're growing it up a fence or a wall, it will actually attach itself by small circular suckers, discs, and then pull itself up the fence or vertical wall. It does also have small white flowers during the summer, which will then be followed by dark blue berries in the autumn and winter, which birds and other wildlife love. This particular variety, henryana, is much better for smaller gardens and can be kept in much better control because it's not as vigorous as its other Parthenocissus counterparts. This variety also has lovely vein definition on its leaves, where the veins within it go this very white, kind of silvery colour, which adds another element to its joy. In the autumn, which is my favourite season for these climbers, they go a very deep blood red colour, really spectacular, probably some of the best autumn colour you can get from your garden unless you plant a tree, and they are just fantastically easy to look after. This one in particular that I've picked up recently is going up on our balcony, and it's going to grow along our railing, so the idea is in the summer it will provide us with coverage and a bit more privacy while we're sat out there in the warmer days, and then in the autumn we're going to get to enjoy its really beautiful colours, and in the winter when it's lost all its leaves we can prune it back, keep it in check, and that's the way to do it. As soon as the leaves fall off in the autumn you can cut it back and keep it in check. Now the stems can root quite easily, so what I would suggest if you are planting it in the ground or you are pruning it back is to make sure that none of the stems run along the soil where possible, and you don't leave any of the stems lying around. They will root, and then you can get a problem where it starts to spread through your garden where you don't necessarily want it. But on the whole, if you're picking those up and putting them away and discarding them, it won't give you any problem. What it will do is provide you with this fantastic lovely red new growth, brilliant autumn colour, and great coverage during the summer months. I'm going to be growing mine in container, so I'm going to talk to you about that process now and how I'm going to ensure it looks its best throughout the year whilst it's in a pot. So, as I said, I'm growing mine in a container. As I mentioned, they're really quite vigorous actually, so the bigger the pot you can get for them, the better they're going to perform and the better they're going to look throughout the season. I've chosen this one. Now this is 50 centimetres wide and is probably about the same, if not a little bit more in depth. What I've done is I have drilled some holes in the bottom for drainage, because as with all container plants you don't want a layer of water sat at the bottom because that will eventually kill the plants off. And what I'm going to do, as I do with all of my container grown plants, is put a layer of old plastic pots, or you can use gravel, or you can use terracotta pots that are broken, anything like that at the bottom, about 1 inch or so in depth, to make sure that if there is any backlog of water, it's going to sit in the bottom here and the soil isn't going to be sat directly in that water. With the drainage holes it shouldn't be a problem, but I still like to put that layer of drainage in to get the plant off to the best start and to keep it looking happy and healthy. So I'm going to do that now. And then that's provided me with that layer in there to keep the water off of the soil itself. Now Parthenocissus will be quite happy to grow in any kind of soil conditions really. I'm just going to be therefore using a multi-purpose compost with a little bit of John Innes soil added to it. So the multi-purpose is providing the nutrients there, and the John Innes is providing the actual structure of the soil and loosening it up a little bit so it's not going to sit waterlogged. Once you've done that, you're then ready to plant it in. A super simple process. Once you've filled your container up to a reasonable amount, you want about 1 inch left on the top. you can then excavate the actual planting hole itself. Now this needs to be the same depth as the pot that you're going to be planting into it. So in this case, this is quite a deep pot, as most climbers come in from the garden centre, and it wants to be planted at exactly the same height as it is currently in its pot. If you plant it too deep, you're going to risk the plant rotting, and if you plant it too shallow, it's going to dry out and not establish very well. So it needs to be exactly the same height as it is in the current container. So I reckon this is about right. I'm just going to sit that in just to have a look. Yeah, it looks great. I'm just going to take this out now. Then what you're wanting to do is just backfill around it and firm down. Like that. I'm going to fetch some more compost, fill it up to this level here, and then it'll be ready for putting some bark around the top, and that's it, planted and ready to get established. I've now moved the Parthenocissus, my Virginia creeper, to its final spot up here on the balcony, and what I've done is I've slightly angled the canes and the growth of the plant in the container towards the railings that I want it to grow. And that's the same if you're planting it up against a fence or a wall or anything you want it to climb across. The more help you can give it in that direction, the quicker and easier it's going to find its own way. So I've angled it slightly towards railings, and with some of the new growth, the long tendrils, I've actually wrapped around the railings already to give it a head start. What these will do now is they'll actually entwine themselves around the railings, and then we'll have the desired effect, hopefully starting from next year, where they'll continue to grow right the way along here. Now, with it being quite a vigorous climber, one thing you've got to be really on top of is your watering. So this mustn't dry out. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a saucer underneath this here on the balcony so we can keep it topped up right the way through the summer. It's less of a problem through the winter. It's going dormant, so you don't have to worry about it. I'm not that worried about it at the moment. I will keep it watered if we have a hot spell. Before the leaves fall off, and once they've fallen off you can leave it, and then in the spring we'll put the saucer underneath and we'll keep it topped up right the way through. It's also worth noting that it will go through the nutrients in this container very, very quickly. It's a hungry plant, it likes to spread out, so restricting it in a pot is going to cause it some problems in terms of nutrients. So keeping it really well fed, I'm envisaging feeding it sort of maybe even once a week, but certainly once a fortnight during peak season, is going to keep it looking in tip-top condition. And really that's all it needs. As long as you keep on top of the watering and keep it fed, it's going to be fairly happy and easy to look after. As I said, it can be quite vigorous, so cut back in the winter, or if you can't wait, you can cut it back whenever, it will be fine. Just to make sure that you do keep it in check. So watering, feeding, cutting back when you need to, or in the winter to keep it in check, and otherwise just enjoy this fantastic climber. That's it. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I've got lots more content coming soon. I'm going to be focusing on individual plants as I have this one, how I'm looking after them myself and how they're doing in my garden. And as we move into next year, I'll have a new veg patch and greenhouse to show you as well. So do hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all my future videos, and check out the playlist that I've got already. There's some great information in there. Thanks very much, and I'll see you next time.